She finally left, just like I calculated she would. ROI on emotional investment, 0. Exactly as planned. It started in Chicago, Lincoln Park. The good part, though now I know there's no truly good part when you're making $65,000 a year and pretending it's enough. Back when I thought love was currency and trust was an investment that always paid dividends. Before I learned that the only thing that appreciates in value is real estate and cynicism. 3 years ago, I was different. I was the guy who'd drive from Wicker Park to Naperville at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday just to get her favorite Portillo's chocolate cake when she had a bad day. 45 minutes each way through construction on 290, burning gas I couldn't afford in a 2015 Honda Civic with 97,000 miles on it. The cake cost $32, the gas cost $15. The smile on her face? I thought that was priceless. Turns out it had a very specific price, and Brad from Goldman Sachs could afford it. I had Cubs season tickets I couldn't afford. Bleacher seats, section 203, but I told everyone they were season tickets like they were Diamondbacks. My Wells Fargo checking account would hover around $400 after each homestand, but I'd post Instagram stories from Wrigley like I owned the place. We'd pregame with Bud Light and paper bags on the red line, calling it Vintage Chicago, like we chose it over Uber Black. I believed in true love like it was taught at Big Ten schools, earnestly, enthusiastically, with the kind of Midwestern optimism that assumes everyone operates in good faith. Had notifications on for her Instagram stories. The little heart would pop up on my phone and I'd stop whatever I was doing, client presentations, morning runs along Lakeshore Drive, conversations with my mother, just to see what Taylor had posted. Usually it was a latte from Intelligentsia with some quote about manifesting abundance. I double-tapped every single one. I saved every snap. Screenshots filled my phone. Her morning face without makeup. Her trying on sundresses at Nordstrom Rack while I waited outside holding her purse. Her laughing at my attempts to cook anything beyond pasta. I had a folder labeled Us with 2,847 photos. Now I have a folder labeled Quarterly Reports with 2,847 PDFs. We thought our matched Spotify Wrapped meant something cosmic. Both had Taylor Swift as #1 artist, Lover as our top song. We played it at every pregame, every apartment dinner party where we served $2 chuck and called it a wine tasting. She'd sing, "I've loved you 3 summers now, honey, but I want them all," while stirring Trader Joe's marinara sauce on our electric stove that only had 3 working burners. I harmonized on the chorus. Our friends said we were couple goals, posted us on their Instagram stories with "Spar Spar" and "Get you a love like this." My entire personality was loving her. Every Saturday morning I'd wake up at 6:45 a.m. to get to Stan's Donuts in Wicker Park by 7:15. The line would already be around the corner. All the Lincoln Park couples in their outdoor voices athleisure, planning their days at Green City Market. I'd wait 45 minutes for her glazed old-fashioned and a vanilla oat milk latte. She'd still be asleep when I got back to our Lakeview apartment, the one where the radiator clanged like a ghost was trapped inside, and the bathroom door didn't fully close. I'd arranged the donuts on our one nice plate, a wedding gift from her college roommate's registry that we'd stolen from a Crate and Barrel display, and bring her breakfast in bed. "You're too good to me," she'd say, powdered sugar on her lips. "Impossible," I'd reply. "There's no such thing as too good for you." I spent half my Wells Fargo account on Michigan Avenue just to see her smile. Not the real Michigan Avenue. Water Tower Place and 900 North Michigan were beyond my tax bracket. But I'd take her to the Zara on State Street, watching her try on dresses she'd seen on fashion influencers. When she'd find something she loved, seeing her face light up in the fitting room mirror, I'd insist on buying it. "You don't have to," she'd protest, knowing my Mint app sent me daily notifications about my spending. "I want to," I'd lie, already calculating if I could make rent if I picked up extra freelance projects. I was making $65,000 at a Loop marketing firm, Momentum Digital, one of those places with exposed brick and a ping pong table no one used because we all work 60-hour weeks. My boss drove a Tesla Model S and talked about disrupting the digital space while paying us barely enough to afford a studio in Uptown. But I spent like I worked at Citadel, like those quantitative traders who bought rounds of the Violet Hour without checking the bill. We had our spots. Pequods for deep dish when we wanted to feel like tourists in our own city. Big Star for tacos and tecate when my direct deposit hit. RPM Italian when her parents visited and insisted on paying. We'd dress up for RPM, me in my one good suit from Macy's, her in a dress from Revolve she'd bought with Afterpay. We'd order the bone marrow and pretend we weren't calculating the price per bite. It was October. That perfect Chicago October, where the leaves along Lincoln Park are amber and gold, where you need a jacket in the morning but not by afternoon, where the lake looks like hammered silver under a ceramic blue sky. We were at Millennium Park, by Cloudgate. You know, the bean, that giant reflective sculpture that every Chicago couple takes photos in front of. Basic, but we didn't care. We were basic and in love, which we thought made us extraordinary. The tourists were thick that Saturday, all angles and selfie sticks. But we found our spot on the east side, where you can see the skyline reflected infinitely in the curves. She was wearing the camel coat from Zara I'd bought her, the one that cost a third of my weekly paycheck. Her breath came out in small puffs in the cooling air. "Do you believe in forever?" she asked, not looking at me but at our warped reflection, us made abstract, made art, made infinite in the polished steel. "Like Ross and Rachel forever," I said, taking her hand. Her fingers were cold. I rubbed them between mine. "Like Jim and Pam forever." She laughed, but there was something underneath it. Looking back, I can decode it now. Disappointment, dressed as amusement. "You watch too much TV." "The Office got me through my DePaul finals," I said, still thinking we were having a playful conversation. "That's forever. Michael Scott's That's What She Said jokes are forever. Jim looking at the camera is forever. Our love? Definitely forever." She laughed again. I thought it meant she loved me. The way she threw her head back, the way her hand squeezed mine. I thought laughter was love's native language. She was actually laughing at me, at my simplicity, my earnestness, my Midwestern belief that loving someone with your whole heart was enough. "Forever's a long time," she said, turning to face the city skyline. The Trump Tower reflected the late afternoon sun like a beacon, or a warning. "Not long enough with you," I replied, pulling her close, kissing her temple. She leaned into me, but her body was rigid, already calculating her exit strategy while I was calculating how many months I'd need to save for the ring I'd seen her screenshot from Brilliant Earth. 2 carats, cushion cut, rose gold band, $12,000. I could do it in 18 months if I stopped eating lunch and walked to work instead of taking the CTA. Found out at Soho House, Chicago. We weren't members, God no. The membership was $2,100 a year plus the application fee. But Taylor's friend from Vanderbilt, the one who worked at Goldman Sachs, had guest passes. Brad Stevens. I should have known from the name. Brads are always dangerous to guys like me. Guys named Daniel who go by Danny, who played JV soccer and think craft beer is a personality trait. It was a Thursday evening in November. The city was already dark by 5 p.m. That oppressive Chicago winter darkness that makes you understand why people move to California. The Soho House was all exposed brick and Edison bulbs, mid-century modern furniture that cost more than my annual bonus. Everyone looked like they just stepped out of a Warby Parker ad. Perfectly disheveled, expensively casual. Taylor had left her iPhone face up on the reclaimed wood table when she went to the bathroom. We'd been drinking natural wine. Her choice. I pretended to understand the difference. And talking about Thanksgiving plans. Her family in Winnetka, mine in Schaumburg. Hers with catered turkey, mine with Jewel Osco cranberry sauce. The notification popped up. Brad, Goldman Sachs. My stomach dropped before my consciousness caught up. You know that feeling when you're in free fall in a dream? That moment before you jerk awake? That's what seeing those emoji felt like, except I couldn't wake up. Miss you already. Can't wait for Alinea tomorrow. Her Face ID was still set to recognize me. Funny how that works. We'd set it up together one hungover Sunday, laughing about how the phone thought we looked similar enough to be the same person. We're becoming one person, she'd said. That's what love does. I unlocked her phone. The messages went back 3 months. 3 months of me bringing her Stan's donuts while she was texting him about breakfast at Lou Mitchell's. 3 months of me saving for an engagement ring while she was sending him photos from the Nordstrom dressing room at Old Orchard. Real Nordstrom, not the rack. The texts were all there. A scroll of casual cruelty. Your boyfriend still drives that Honda? He's sweet, but his Robinhood account is embarrassing. I can't believe he thinks $500 is investing. The Goldman guy just offered Alinea for our third date. 8-course tasting menu, Danny's Chipotle date nights. Love doesn't buy a Lincoln Park townhouse. Brad's bonus does. He showed me his Bloomberg terminal, so much sexier than Danny's Mint app. I'm just staying until after the holidays. His family already bought my plane ticket. Feel bad, but he's basically a starter boyfriend. Like training wheels before the real thing. I scrolled up. Down. The messages blurred. My natural wine tasted like battery acid. The Edison bulbs felt too bright, like interrogation lights. Everyone in Soho House seemed to be staring at me. The guy in the J. Crew sale sweater who didn't belong. She came back from the bathroom, lips freshly glossed with the Fenty beauty I'd bought her for her birthday. Sat down and smiled at me like the last 3 months of deception were nothing. You okay? You look pale. I slid her phone across the table. Still unlocked, still on Brad's messages. The color drained from her face faster than champagne bubbles disappearing. Danny, Alinea's nice, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I looked into it once. For your birthday. It's $400 a person. Before wine. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you've been fucking a Goldman Sachs Brad while I've been planning our forever. She didn't deny it. That's what hurt most. No dramatic protest. No tears. No, I can explain. Just a slight nod, like she was confirming a reservation. I confronted her properly, in our Lakeview apartment. The one on Southport where we'd split rent 50-50, even though it took 70% of my paycheck and only 30% of hers. Her parents helped her out, she said, just a little padding in the bank account. I found out later they were giving her $2,000 a month on top of her nonprofit salary. The apartment still smelled like the Trader Joe's eucalyptus candle she always burned. My grocery store flowers were dying on the counter, those $6.99 bouquets I bought every Sunday, thinking small gestures added up to grand romance. The petals had turned brown at the edges, curling in on themselves like they were trying to disappear. Her Lululemon was already packed in her away suitcase, the large one in Coast, that perfect millennial pink that she'd bought for our trip to Europe, that we never took because I couldn't afford it and was too proud to let her pay. 3 Align leggings, 5 energy bras, the everywhere belt bag in black, packed with the efficiency of someone who'd been planning their exit for months. How long? I asked, though I already knew. Does it matter? She was sitting on our West Elm couch, the one we'd bought together, arguing over colors in the showroom. She'd wanted distressed velvet and ink blue. I'd wanted to check IKEA first. We'd compromised on West Elm, but in chenille tweed. Now I realized that was our whole relationship. Her aesthetic desires slightly downgraded to accommodate my budget. 3 months matters, Taylor. 3 months of lying to my face matters. She sighed like I was being dramatic, like I was the guy causing a scene at a restaurant over a wrong order. I wasn't lying. I was figuring things out. Figuring out how to fuck Brad. Figuring out what I want from life, she said, standing up, smoothing down her Aritzia dress, the one I'd complimented her on that morning, told her she looked beautiful in. And Danny, what I want? It's not this. She gestured around our apartment, at the CB2 knockoff coffee table, at the framed prints from Society 6 instead of real art, at the 55-inch TCL TV instead of the Samsung frame she'd wanted. You mean it's not me? You're a great guy. Don't. I laughed, bitter as the IPAs I pretended to enjoy. Please don't give me the great guy speech. I've seen enough romantic comedies to know how this ends. But I need someone who... She paused, choosing her words like she was choosing wines at Whole Foods, carefully, considering the price point. Someone who summers in the Hamptons, not someone who thinks Galena is a vacation. We had fun in Galena, I said weakly. We'd rented a cabin last summer, spent 3 days hiking and grilling, playing board games and making love on a queen bed that squeaked. I'd thought it was romantic. She'd been texting Brad pictures of her in hiking boots, captioning them, roughing it, aswell. You shop at Target, she continued, each word a small bullet. Brad shops at Bergdorf. His wallet doesn't have a Venmo debit card. He has an actual Amex Black Card. He has a driver, Danny, not Uber, a driver. His name is Carlos, and he drives a Mercedes S-Class. I loved you, I said, the past tense surprising both of us. When had it shifted? Just now? 3 months ago? The moment I saw Brad's name on her phone? Love doesn't pay for a Lincoln Park townhouse, she said. Love doesn't get you into the Chicago club. Love doesn't get your kids into Latin school. We don't have kids. Brad and I will. The future tense hit harder than any past betrayal. She'd already mapped out a life with him. Lincoln Park townhouse. 2 kids. A boy and a girl, obviously. The boy would be Bradley Jr. The girl would be something like Hadley or Harper. They'd have a golden retriever and a Range Rover. Summer house in Saugatuck. Christmas in Aspen. the life she'd been advertising for on her Instagram, looking for someone to cast in the leading role. While I'd been auditioning for a part I was never going to get. "Grow up," she said, her last words as she wheeled her suitcase to the door. "This is Chicago. Everyone's either rich or trying to be. You're neither." She kept the Dyson vacuum, the V11 we'd bought during a Black Friday sale, setting our alarms for 5 a.m. to get the deal. Left me the Instant Pot that I'd used once to make risotto that came out like porridge. The door closed. Not a slam. Worse, a gentle click, like punctuation at the end of a polite sentence. I stood in my apartment. The silence was so complete, I could hear the refrigerator humming, the radiator ticking, the couple upstairs having sex. They were always having sex. We'd joked about it, made up stories about them. I ordered Portillo's, not the chocolate cake, Italian beef, wet with giardiniera. Ate it standing over the sink, the juice dripping down my chin, not caring that I was ruining my J. Crew sweater. What was the point of keeping things nice? Nice didn't keep anything. That night, after the Portillo's and half a bottle of Binny's cheapest whiskey, I made a decision. If money was the game, I'd play it perfectly. I'd become everything she left me for, except better, colder, more calculating. I'd become the kind of man who didn't get left. I transferred from Chicago to New York through a Northwestern connection, a Kellogg MBA who'd taken pity on me during an alumni networking event. Got a Morgan Stanley job as an analyst. The salary bump was immediate, $65,000 to $95,000, plus bonus potential. In Chicago, that would have made me comfortable. In New York, it made me poor, with a better zip code. I found a studio in Murray Hill, 400 square feet for $2,800 a month. The bathroom was so small you could brush your teeth while sitting on the toilet. The kitchen was a hot plate and a mini fridge masquerading as adult appliances. But the address said Manhattan, and that's all that mattered. I studied relationships like Warren Buffett studied stocks, downloaded Hinge, Bumble, and Raya, treated them like Bloomberg Terminal, created spreadsheets tracking response rates, conversion metrics, optimal messaging times. A/B tested my responses like I was optimizing ad campaigns. Profile photo strategy. Photo 1. Headshot in Hermes tie. Bought secondhand on the RealReal. Photo 2. Rooftop bar at One Hotel Brooklyn Bridge. Went once for a work event. Photo 3. Candid gym shot at Equinox. Used a day pass. Photo 4. Hamptons beach photo. Stayed at a hostel in Montauk. Photo 5. At my desk with 3 monitors. Took it after hours when the MDs left. Photo 6. Running Central Park in Lululemon. Gift from Taylor I kept out of spite. The rules I created. Never text back within 24 hours. Immediate responses signal scarcity mindset. I set reminders in my phone. Reply to Sarah, Hinge, for 27 hours later. Sometimes I'd type the response immediately, then copy it to my Notes app, waiting to send it until the optimal moment. Never go to Sweetgreen or Chipotle on dates. Too accessible. First dates at the Smith or Jack's wife Frida. Second dates at Chiconi's or Loring Place. Third dates at Carbone if I thought they'd sleep with me. Gramercy Tavern if I needed more time. Always mention the Amex Platinum but never use it. Oh, I forgot my Platinum at home. The concierge was updating my Centurion qualification. Then pay with my Chase Sapphire, the one with the $95 annual fee I stressed about. Reference your Equinox membership casually. Sorry I'm late. Trainer ran over at Equinox. I had a Planet Fitness membership in Queens. $10 a month. Went at 5 a.m. so no one from work would see me. Live in Murray Hill but say you're looking in Tribeca. The apartment's just temporary. Waiting for the right place in Tribeca to open up. I'd been saying this for 2 years. My Zillow saved searches were all $8 million lofts I'd never afford. Unless GameStop went to $10,000. I practiced in the mirror every morning while making instant coffee. I love you became, I appreciate your investment. You're beautiful became, you're a valuable asset. I miss you became, your absence has been noted. Learned to name drop Burning Man and Coachella without ever attending. Studied Instagram posts from both. Memorized the camp names, the DJ sets, the art installations. Could hold a 15-minute conversation about the Playa or Yuma tent without ever setting foot in either. Subscribed to Masterclass but only watched the finance courses. Bob Iger on leadership. Ray Dalio on principles. Howard Schultz on business. Skipped Neil Gaiman on writing and Gordon Ramsay on cooking. Art was inefficient. Food was fuel. Read The Intelligent Investor and highlighted passages I'd never understand. Kept it visible on my desk during video calls. Added Thinking Fast and Slow and 0 to 1 to my coffee table stack. Never opened them. Decoration, not education. Started speaking in corporate metaphors exclusively. Let's circle back on that emotion. I'll need to see the data before I commit. What's the ROI on this conversation? Let's take this offline, about feelings. I don't have the bandwidth for jealousy. Upper East Side, Bluestone Lane, 72nd and Lexington. The Australian coffee shop where bankers pretended to be cultured because they ordered flat whites instead of lattes. I was reading the Financial Times on my phone, scrolling without absorbing, performing productivity for an audience that wasn't watching. She was wearing Reformation, the Nikita dress in Prosperity I'd later learn. $248 for what looked like a floral slip. Reading Colleen Hoover, It Ends With Us, the kind of book Morgan Stanley MDs mocked, but their wives secretly devoured. Her coffee order was extensive. Oat milk cortado, half-pump vanilla, extra hot. In a ceramic cup, not paper. She spilled it on my Financial Times, the physical paper I'd bought for $6 just to look sophisticated. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Her voice had that specific Upper East Side inflection, not quite transatlantic, not quite Valley Girl, something expensively in between. Let me Venmo you for dry cleaning, or buy you a new paper, or both. I'm such a disaster before noon. Depreciation was already factored in, I said, not looking up from my phone where I was checking futures I didn't understand. She laughed, thinking it was humor. It wasn't. I'd already written off everything in my life as a loss. I'm Olivia, she said, sitting down uninvited at my table for two where I sat alone. And you're either hilarious or a sociopath. Both generate alpha in this market, I replied. Oh God, you're actually in finance. But she said it with interest, not disgust. The way women in Manhattan said it when they were calculating whether you were analyst poor or MD rich. She was from Connecticut, Fairfield County, the nice part, Greenwich adjacent, where the houses had names and the driveways had gates. Went to Vanderbilt, studied art history because, as she explained, Daddy said I should study something I loved since I'd never need to work. She worked anyway, at a nonprofit that provided art therapy to underprivileged youth. The salary was $45,000, but her trust fund cleared $10,000 monthly, so she could afford principals. What about you? She asked, stirring the replacement cortado the barista had rushed to make her. Where are you from? Chicago, I said, then quickly added, Lincoln Park area, implying proximity to wealth without technically lying. Oh, I love Chicago. We used to stay at the Peninsula for Christmas shopping. Michigan Avenue is almost as good as Fifth. Almost, I agreed, remembering when I couldn't afford anything on Michigan Avenue. When Taylor and I would window shop and dream. She had a SoulCycle membership she actually used, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 a.m., with an instructor named Dirk, who she said literally changed her life. Summers in Nantucket at her family's cottage, 6 bedrooms, oceanfront, with a guest house and tennis court. Winters in Jackson Hole where they owned a cabin, ski in, ski out, with a hot tub that overlooked the Tetons. Spring in Charleston, because her mother was from South Carolina, old money. Fall in New York because fall in New York is mandatory. You should come to Nantucket this summer, she said on our third coffee. We'd made it a Thursday morning tradition before work. Fair warning, my family's a lot. Daddy will interrogate you about your 5-year plan, and Mummy will get drunk on rosé and ask when we're giving her grandchildren. I don't make plans beyond quarterly earnings, I said. God, you're such a banker, it's actually hot. She had no idea it wasn't a persona. At Tao downtown, 3 dates later, she wore Alice and Olivia. I wore my one good suit. Boss, bought at Nordstrom Rack, but with the tags removed so carefully you'd never know. The hostess knew her by name, gave us a table in the corner where the music wasn't too loud, and you could actually have a conversation. So, she said, over $38 cocktails that tasted like perfume and bad decisions. Do you believe in forever? My chest tightened. Same question. Different skyline outside the windows. Only in perpetual trusts, I said. The words automatic now. Practiced. Hollow. She smiled like it was romantic. Posted an Instagram story of our drinks with, dating a banker is just Excel sheets and emotional hedging. Got 247 likes. Her friends commented with fire emojis and, get it, girl. When's our anniversary? She asked a month later at Catch LA. We'd flown out for Coachella. She had a house in Palm Desert. I slept on the couch and told her I preferred it for my back problems, rather than admit I was afraid of intimacy now. Like, is it when we met? First date? First kiss? When you finally admitted you weren't a robot. Fiscal or calendar year, I responded, checking my phone where Bitcoin was crashing again. She laughed and posted it on TikTok. Dating and finance is just different. Got 50K views, hundreds of comments about how I was probably a Scorpio. I was, and definitely has a Bloomberg terminal as his phone background. I did. Meeting her parents at their Greenwich estate was like walking into a Ralph Lauren advertisement that had become sentient. The driveway was so long they had it plowed privately in winter. The house was colonial but somehow also modern, like tradition and innovation had merged seamlessly with an unlimited budget. "You must be Daniel," her father said. He had the handshake of someone who'd crushed companies for sport. "Olivia says you're at Morgan Stanley. Equities?" "Fenced income, actually. Stable, smart, though not much upside in this rate environment." "Depends on your position," I said. He smiled like I'd passed a test. "What's your position on the S&P?" "Bearish through Q2. Bullish if the Fed pivots." "And on my daughter?" "Bullish. Long-term hold." "Acceptable," he said, then walked away to refresh his scotch. Olivia's mother was 4 glasses of Sancerre deep by dinner. When I met Olivia's father, she slurred slightly over the Dover sole. He was nobody. Just some Harvard boy with a good name and a better jaw. Now look, 3 houses and a Gulf Stream. You'll be fine. During Aspen Ski Week, we stayed at the St. Regis. Her family had a residence there, but she wanted privacy, which meant she wanted to have sex without her parents in the next room. The suite cost more than I made in a month. She insisted on paying. "Daddy's Amex," she said. "He won't even notice." On the slopes, I'd never skied before but pretended I was just rusty. She stopped at the top of a black diamond run. The Rockies stretched endlessly, white and severe and beautiful in the way that only very expensive things can be. "I love you," she said, her breath crystallizing in the thin air. "Subject to market conditions," I replied, adjusting my rented goggles. "You're so Wall Street it's actually hot," she said, then pushed off down the mountain. I followed, terrified, pretending confidence I didn't have. The metaphor was too obvious to ignore. Olivia started trying harder. Like a stock that keeps rising despite terrible fundamentals, she invested more and more in us while I provided diminishing returns. She booked us Hamilton tickets, Orchestra Center, $800 each. I spent the entire performance calculating the opportunity cost, what that $1,600 could have become in an index fund over 30 years with compound interest. "Wasn't that incredible?" she asked afterward, eyes bright with the kind of joy money can't actually buy but can facilitate. "The revenue model is impressive. $3 million weekly gross." "I meant the music, the story. Who tells your story? Didn't that move you?" "Stories are just marketing. Hamilton's brand management was exceptional." She surprised me with Yankees playoff seats, Legends Suite, behind home plate, the kind where they bring you sushi between innings and the bathrooms have attendants. The Yankees were playing the Astros. Bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, 2 outs, down by 1. Judge at the plate. He struck out looking. The season ended. "It's okay," she said, rubbing my back as 47,000 people filed out in funeral silence. "There's always next season." "I don't invest in depreciating assets," I said. This team peaked in 2009. It's just baseball. Nothing with a $280 million payroll is just anything. She stopped rubbing my back. We took separate Ubers home. She planned a Hamptons weekend at her family's Sag Harbor place. The small house, only 4 bedrooms, where they stayed when they wanted to be casual. She'd prepared everything. Farmers market vegetables, Wolfer wine, that specific Hamptons light that made everything look like a Slim Aaron's photograph. Saturday evening, she'd made dinner, actual cooking, not ordering Seamless. Striped bass with tomatoes from her mother's garden, corn from a farm stand, salad with herbs she'd grown herself on the deck. "This is nice," she said over dinner, the sunset turning the bay gold. Just us. No phones, no Bloomberg. Just us. I was calculating the property tax on the house, roughly $47,000 manually. The dock alone probably cost more than my Chicago apartment. "You're not even here," she said. "I'm here. Your body is. Your mind's in Manhattan, probably in some Excel model. EBITDA projections for Q4, actually." She threw her napkin on her plate. "Can you just be a human for 5 fucking minutes?" Emotions are inefficient. Everything's inefficient to you. Love is inefficient. Joy is inefficient. What's efficient, Danny? Tell me. What's the most efficient thing? "Being alone," I said. "No variables to account for." The truth of it surprised us both. For her birthday, I'd made a reservation at 11 Madison Park. It was supposed to be nice. $400 per person tasting menu, wine pairing another $200. I'd planned it like a hostile takeover, every detail managed, every variable controlled. But control is an illusion, especially with emotions involved. She'd had a bad day. The nonprofit lost funding for their main program. Kids who'd been making art, processing trauma through paint and clay, would have nothing now. She'd spent the afternoon crying in her cubicle, the kind of honest, purposeful tears that come from caring about something beyond yourself. She was crying into her $400 tasting menu, tears falling onto the Miyazaki beef, the kind that costs more per ounce than gold. "Can you just hold me and tell me it's okay?" she asked, mascara running despite the waterproof promise. "Emotional support is available during business hours," I said, checking my Rolex. Not a real one, a perfect replica I'd bought in Chinatown. It's 9 p.m. We're literally at dinner. This is networking. You're crying at networking. My birthday dinner is networking? Everything's networking. This reservation will go on my Instagram. The chef knows your father. The Somm went to Cornell with my MD. This isn't dinner. It's reputation management. She stood up, dropped her napkin on the chair. The entire restaurant turned. 11 Madison Park was the kind of place where standing abruptly was equivalent to screaming. "I'm going to the bathroom to fix my face," she said. "When I come back, I need you to pretend to be the person I fell in love with, the one who had feelings, even if they were just about depreciation." She never came back. The maitre d' discreetly informed me she'd left. I finished both tasting menus, alone. Posted it on Instagram with the caption, "Birthday dinner, table for 2, appetite for 1. Efficiency." Got 47 likes, 3 fire emojis from other analysts who thought I was being funny. She made one last attempt on the High Line, near Little Island, on an unseasonably warm December day. The Hudson looked almost blue instead of its usual gray. Couples walked past us holding hands, taking selfies, being human in ways I'd forgotten how to be. "I know someone hurt you," she said, not looking at me, but at the river. "I can see it when you check your Robinhood instead of holding my hand. When you refer to us as merger and acquisition in your therapist's waiting room. Yes, I heard you." I said nothing. A Circle Line tour boat passed below, full of tourists seeing New York for the first time, still capable of wonder. "But I'm not her," Olivia continued. "I'm not whoever she was in Chicago. I won't leave you for someone richer. I literally have a trust fund. I drive a Range Rover my dad bought. I summer in the Hamptons regardless. Money isn't the variable here. Please, just feel something." "Feelings are inefficient," I repeated, my mantra, my armor, my prison. "Let me show you my portfolio. Up 12% this quarter, better than the NASDAQ average." "Danny," she turned to face me, "I'm not asking you to love me. I'm asking you to admit you're capable of love. That somewhere under all those spreadsheets and market reports, there's still a human who once felt things." "The market's closed," I said, literally checking my phone as I said it. "Has been since 4. I'm not talking about the stock market. All markets are correlated." She laughed, but it wasn't like Taylor's laugh, cruel and dismissive. This was sad, the laugh of someone watching something die. "You know what the tragedy is?" she said. "You've turned yourself into everything you probably hated about whoever hurt you. You're like if LinkedIn became sentient and got a Patek Philippe. It's a Rolex, actually. It's fake, actually. I can tell. My dad has 3 real ones. But you know what? The fake watch is the most honest thing about you. At least it admits it's not real." 3 days later, she ended it at Soho House, New York, the same chain where I'd discovered Taylor's betrayal, just 790 miles east. The poetry of it wasn't lost on me, though I'd trained myself not to care about poetry. It was a Sunday. Brunch crowd, all bottomless mimosas and cocaine hangovers dressed in Reformation and Everlane. She'd ordered avocado toast, $24 for something I could make for $3 at home. But I didn't say that anymore. I'd learned that calculating the markup on everything was, as she'd said, exhausting and honestly kind of poor behavior. "This isn't working," she said, cutting straight to it. No preamble. Efficient. I'd trained her well. "Our quarterly performance has been strong," I said, pulling up my phone. "Look, I've been tracking our relationship metrics. Date frequency up 12%. Average spend per date up 8%. Instagram engagement on couple photos averaging 300 likes." "You've been tracking our relationship?" "I track everything. It's called data-driven decision-making." She stared at me like I was an exhibit at the Museum of Natural History, something extinct, behind glass, fascinating, but dead. "You know what's sad?" she said, pushing the avocado toast away uneaten. "You've turned yourself into everything you hated about Brad from Goldman Sachs, except he at least pretended to have emotions. He would have faked crying at my birthday. You couldn't even fake caring." Brad from Goldman Sachs? My chest tightened. The name was a trigger I hadn't expected. It's a type. You're all Brad from Goldman Sachs now. You're like if LinkedIn became sentient and got a Rolex. A fake Rolex, but still. Emotional manipulation won't affect projected outcomes, I said, returning to my script, my safety. Danny, she said, standing up, putting on her Burberry trench, the real one, not the outlet version I'd considered buying. I'm not manipulating you. I'm leaving you. And the saddest part, you won't even feel it. You'll probably put it in a spreadsheet. Relationship terminated. Efficiency improved by 100%. Assets freed up for reallocation, I agreed. Goodbye, she said. I hope your Bloomberg terminal keeps you warm. She left her Balenciaga scarf, soft pink cashmere, $450 retail. I waited exactly 3 minutes, didn't want to seem eager, then listed it on the RealReal. Price to move. Sold in 6 hours for $315. Made 30% profit margin after fees. Posted about it on my Instagram story. Always be closing, even relationships. 12 fire emojis from other analysts. One DM from a girl saying, savage, LOL. We matched on Hinge later that week. Went to Cicconi's. Split the check to the penny. Never texted again.